Adam looked outside his window while his wife slept. He felt uneasy. His instincts as an adventurer were on edge, and he didn't know why. Watching the moon, he noticed something. It was missing a piece, even though it should be full. It was still missing a slice, and that missing slice grew by the moment. He called out into the night, awakening his neighbors and wife from slumber. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, let's meet Bakunawa, a moon-eating dragon. Bakunawa comes from the Philippines, often described as a long serpent or dragon with a single horn on his nose. He also has a loop in his tail. Often he is seen sleeping in the ocean, but a few say that he can coil around the globe, just like Jormungandr from Norse mythology. He is even said to be the cause of earthquakes and other natural disasters. And there are a couple of variations to his tale. In all versions, the supreme god, Bakunawa, created 7 moons to shine down, one for each day of the week. Bakunawa would see the moons and be drawn to them before swallowing them one by one, until only one remained. Bakunawa wouldn't directly intervene, but gave instructions to the people. When Bakunawa started devouring the last moon, the people rushed from their homes, chanting, "Return our moon," and making a complete ruckus, banging pots and pans. They played music, lulling it to sleep, so that they could chase it away. Thus, their explanation for an eclipse. Now, in another version, Bakunawa had fallen in love with a woman from the village, and tried living together. The village elders did not approve and set their home ablaze. Losing his love, Bakunawa seeks revenge by devouring the moons. Bakunawa becomes angry and banishes Bakunawa from the seas. And when we see an eclipse, he is attempting to return home and fails. In the third version, Bakunawa has a sister who was a giant sea turtle. She would come to the Philippines to lay her eggs, but with her every arrival, the island would be washed away and shrink. Now the locals didn't want that and killed her. And once more, our story plays out the same. There is a bit more to him. He is said to be so massive that there is a landmass on his back, and there are even villages living there. Thus, there are considered to be 2 separate variants of Bakunawa, an aquatic and a terrestrial. Now, here's the real question. How big was he? I'm going to compare him to an anaconda and other serpents. For most snakes, they can swallow something 4 times their body size at its widest point. And the moon has a width of 3,474 kilometers, 2,158 miles. So I am going to round to 3,500 kilometers for simplicity. So a diameter of roughly 875 kilometers is our estimated body thickness. The green anaconda is about 6.3 meters, 20.75 feet long, and 20 centimeters, 8 inches wide, roughly. So, if I am doing my math right, we should get an estimated length 27,563 kilometers in length. All of that is assuming that it is shaped like a serpent, like the legend suggests. Of course, my math could be wrong. And how wide it can open its mouth and then swallow will change things. Let's put it into perspective. This thing has a volume of 16 billion cubic kilometers. This thing is actually bigger than the freaking Death Star. A planet-killing laser station is actually smaller than this monster. This thing could eat the Death Star potentially. Yet it is still smaller than Jormungandr. And if you think he is big, there are even bigger monsters in mythology, like Bahamut, which supports the world. So, while it could fit in the ocean, it would definitely make them rise. So most likely, it would be living in space, since it does eat the moon. And that brings up a whole host of issues. First up is we need to improve the skin to tolerate the vacuum of space, so a lot of bulking up. We would also need it to survive the extreme cold and heat that occurs there. The best idea is to make the skin avascular, no blood flow, or in other words, several mile thick layer of dead skin. You will need this to also double as insulation to trap body heat inside. Because of this, Bakunawa needs to be warm-blooded. But due to the problem of feeding such a creature, it would need to be able to send a large section of its body into hibernation to preserve energy. We would also want to close off the respiratory and circulatory systems. Basically, this is going to be a living spaceship, the likes we see in science fiction. But he will need oxygen to breathe. So I would suggest a population of oxygen-producing bacteria found throughout the body. We'd have to look at something chemosynthetic, like we see in the deepest parts of the ocean, or in the Underdark like we talked about recently. Some stories speak of it having villages of people living on it. Well, inside, it would definitely be possible. I wouldn't say it would be a pleasant place. But hey, it's home, right? The heart would be incredibly loud, but a better system would be to have multiple hearts. This would reduce the burden and resistance of pumping the blood. And we have one last issue. In space, no one can hear you scream. So what good is all that noise, pounding pots, screaming, and the music that the people do to scare Bakunawa off? No, I don't think Bakunawa can hear. It would be pretty much worthless for a spacefaring monster. No, but it would need to be able to see. So it is possible that Bakunawa is seeing the people yelling, and that is what is startling him. Mind you, why would a cosmic horror care what a couple of fleas think about it? No, he would just squish them whenever it wants. So the god Bathala must have made a threat. The only other excuse would be if he had serious performance anxiety. Speaking of which, how does it move? Newton's first law states that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion continues in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Now gravity would pull it to the planet, but to fly to the moon, it needs some form of propulsion. And the easiest would be farts, expelling air from its body. Mind you, it would still be difficult. How much air is going to be expelled to turn even a little? It would be very slow. If not expelling air, shooting waste material would be the next option, such as the chunk of rocks from the 6 moons it ate. So, how do we fight such a foe? Let's be honest here, this is not easy, if it is even possible. The easiest way would be to use modern weapons and satellites to strike it. Or better yet, get the Death Star. That would put a hole or two in it. Fighting this will not be easy if you actually intend to. First issue is just getting to it. You need a rocket ship. Sure, there are myths about people flying to space on hippogriffs or using rockets strapped to a chair. So, not easy. But if you could create a teleportation spell, then it would be possible. Incredibly difficult, but plausible. So let's assume that you make it onto Bakunawa. What do? Well, most attacks are going to be minuscule. What are you going to do? Grab a sword and start stabbing? No. If you stab into an artery, the pressure could be terribly dangerous. You need to find a key point, and there is only one. So get ready for a hike. You need to find the brain, which will be the size of a mountain. Go big. Go really big. No, not fireballs. You need fire tornadoes and other large area of effects and very powerful attacks. But there are stories of people living with him, and you may be forced to fight them. They will want to protect their home, so they won't be so reckless in their attacks. Not to mention, you're dealing with its immune system. If Bakunawa does land on the planet, it will create earthquakes, tsunamis, and windstorms. It would very easily be a worldwide disaster. So do be careful, and don't let it fall from space. I'll be honest, I do not see a mortal taking this guy down. No, your best chance is with science fiction weapons. Even nukes will only do so much. Clearly, this is a 10 of 10 for difficulty. The location it lives in, and its sheer size alone makes it a serious issue to contend with. If you slay Bakunawa, you're going to have a lot of work. This thing ate 6 moons. That means ore, precious metals, and other materials to dig out of its digestive tract. You'll want an army for this job, and it will be messy. The greatest issue is if the body starts rotting. And due to its size, there is very little you can do to prevent it. You'll need to be careful of diseases spreading from it. Thankfully, this creature has to be in space. You should be able to eat the meat and use the bones, but neither would be as simple as it seems. It is just the whole scale you're dealing with, though I'm sure you will find something useful. It is just going to take a lot of time. Louder and louder they grew, screams and yells that ripped through the night. Everyone was awake and watched the moon vanish. Then it stopped, and slowly the moon began to reappear. A huge wave of relief washed over the crowd. Soon the moon was back as it should, and people continued to watch. Bakunawa is actually pretty impressive when you really look at it. It's big, and definitely has power because of that. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for Fafnir. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.